The unspoken line. Mei Lin learned early that silence could be a shield. On the Walker Ranch, silence kept her employed, tolerated, invisible. She moved between the barns and the main house with measured steps, eyes lowered, hands always busy. The town beyond the fences barely knew her name, but it knew her difference. She was the Chinese girl who worked hard, spoke little, and belonged nowhere anyone intended to claim. Ethan Walker noticed her the way a man notices a change in weather, gradually, then all at once. He had inherited the ranch with its rolling fields and stubborn cattle, but he had not inherited joy. At 42, he carried responsibility like a second spine. His wife, Clara, managed the house with the precision of an accountant balancing a ledger. She hosted dinners, curated appearances, and corrected small imperfections as if they were moral failures. Their marriage had become a quiet contract, efficient and hollow. Mei Lin's presence unsettled him because it was unadorned. She listened when spoken to, and when she did speak, her words were exact. She understood the animals in a way that felt instinctive, calming a skittish mare with a palm and a murmur. Ethan told himself he admired competence. Nothing more. The trouble began on a Sunday afternoon when Clara hosted the mayor's wife and a pair of investors. Mei Lin served tea and withdrew, as instructed. As she passed the parlor, Clara's voice cut through the polite laughter, soft, sharp, deliberate. "We're fortunate," Clara said, smiling, "that the help knows their place." The laughter that followed was brittle. Mei Lin did not pause. She did not spill a cup. She did not look back. But something in the air tightened, and Ethan felt it like a pulled thread. Later, near the far fence where the land dipped and the wind carried the scent of hay, Ethan found Mei Lin repairing a broken latch. The sun was low, the day thinning. He told himself he was checking the perimeter. He told himself many things. "You don't have to fix that today," he said. She wiped her hands on her apron. "It will be worse tomorrow." Her English was careful, practiced. He noticed the bruise on her knuckle, the steadiness of her gaze when she finally met his. "I'm sorry," he said, unsure what he was apologizing for. She considered him, not unkindly. People say things when they are comfortable. The simplicity of it startled him. "They shouldn't." She smiled then, not warmth but acceptance. "They do." Ethan felt the weight of his house pressing from a distance. "You work hard," he said. It sounded inadequate even as it left his mouth. Mei Lin returned to the latch. "Work is honest." He watched her for a moment too long. "You could do more than this," he said, surprising himself. "You deserve." She straightened, and the wind carried her hair loose around her face. "Deserve is a word for people who choose," she said. "I work." He had no answer for that. The silence between them was different from the ones he knew. Less empty, more charged. He left with an unease he could not name. Days passed. The ranch kept its rhythms. Clara planned another dinner, another display. Ethan signed papers and avoided mirrors. Mei Lin continued her work. Yet something had shifted, subtle and persistent. It came to a head one evening when a storm rolled in without warning. The power flickered. The house went dim. Clara retired early, irritated by the inconvenience. Ethan walked the grounds, checking fences by flashlight. Near the barn, he saw Mei Lin sheltering a calf, her coat soaked, her hands gentle and sure. "You'll catch cold," he said. She looked up, rain on her lashes. "It will pass." He held the light while she finished. When the rain eased, they stood there, the air clean and sharp. The words rose between them, unplanned. "No one marries a Chinese girl, sir," Mei Lin said quietly. "But I can bear babies." The sentence fell like a stone into still water. Ethan's breath caught. He heard, in her voice, not an offer, but a truth shaped by years of being told what was possible and what was not. He saw the fault lines in his own life crack open. "That's not," he stopped. The right words refused him. "That's not how it should be." She met his gaze, steady as ever. "It is how it is." In that moment, Ethan understood the danger, not of desire, but of recognition. He saw her fully, and she had seen him. The line between them, once clear, blurred. From the house, a light snapped on. Clara's silhouette crossed a window. Ethan stepped back as if from heat. "We should go," he said. Mei Lin nodded, already turning away. As he walked toward the house, the rain began again, light and insistent. Ethan knew that something had been spoken that could not be taken back. He did not yet know what it would cost him, but he knew the quiet of his life had been broken, and silence would no longer be enough. Fault lines. The house returned to its routines, but the quiet no longer fit the rooms. Ethan felt it in the mornings, when Clara reviewed her calendar at the kitchen island, speaking of obligations as if they were virtues. He felt it in the evenings, when he lingered too long over paperwork he did not need to read. What had been said by the barn clung to him, not as temptation, but as an accusation. Clara noticed his distraction before she named it. She had a talent for noticing changes that threatened her order. "You missed the call with the investors," she said one night, her tone level. "That isn't like you." "I was checking the south fence," Ethan replied. It was true, but incomplete. She set her glass down with care. "You've been restless." He nodded, choosing agreement over explanation. Their marriage had taught him the efficiency of small concessions. If Clara suspected more, she did not say it. Instead, she tightened her hold on the visible parts of their life. Hosting another dinner, rearranging the living room, reminding Ethan of expectations that required no emotion. The house gleamed. The distance between them grew. On the ranch, Mei Lin worked with the same precision as before, but she avoided the far fence at dusk. She did not seek Ethan out. She did not need to. He found himself noticing where she was not. The barn quiet without her low voice. The yard empty of her steady movement. Absence became its own presence. One afternoon, Mrs. Harper cornered Ethan near the tack room. She had worked the ranch longer than anyone and carried her years lightly. "Careful," she said, not unkindly. "With what?" he asked. "With lines," she replied. "They're easy to step over when you pretend they aren't there." Ethan said nothing. He did not trust himself to speak. That evening, he found Mei Lin in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for supper. Clara was upstairs, preparing for a charity meeting. The light above the counter was warm, ordinary. Mei Lin did not look up at first. "I didn't mean to put you in a difficult position," Ethan said. She paused, knife still. "I chose my words." "I know." He leaned against the doorway, feeling the weight of it. "I don't want you thinking that I expect something." She met his gaze. "I do not." Her restraint unsettled him more than any demand. "Then why say it?" She considered the question. "Because pretending is heavier than truth." The simplicity of her answer cut through him. "It isn't fair," he said, unsure who he meant it for. "Fair is not the measure," she replied, returning to her work. From upstairs came Clara's voice, crisp and controlled. "Ethan." In a minute, he called back. Mei Lin finished chopping and washed her hands. "You should go," she said gently. He did, but the words followed him, pressing against the careful walls he had built. Days later, Clara invited Mei Lin into the sitting room under the guise of instruction. Ethan passed the doorway in time to hear it. "You are efficient," Clara said, her smile polite. "But efficiency isn't everything. Discretion matters. People notice what doesn't belong." Mei Lin's voice was calm. "I belong where I work." Clara's smile thinned. "Work is not the same as place." Ethan stepped in then, the decision arriving before the reasoning. "That's enough," he said. The room stilled. Clara turned, surprise flashing before composure returned. "I was giving guidance." It sounded like something else. Mei Lin stood, eyes lowered. "Excuse me." She left the room. The space she vacated felt charged. Clara faced him. "Why are you defending her?" "Because it was unnecessary," he said. The truth sat just behind it, unspoken. Clara studied him, measuring. "You're letting sentiment cloud judgment." "Or I'm seeing clearly," he replied, then regretted the edge in his voice. Silence fell, thick and telling. Clara broke it first. "Be careful," she said. "Appearances matter." That night, Ethan could not sleep. He replayed the moments, his interruption, Clara's gaze, Mei Lin's quiet exit. He understood, with a clarity that frightened him, that he had crossed a line not with touch but with allegiance. Near midnight, he walked outside. The air was cool, the stars sharp. At the barn, He found Mei Lin sitting on a bale of hay, her coat wrapped tight. "I shouldn't be here," he said. She nodded. "Then don't stay." He remained where he was. "I didn't defend you because I expect something." "I know," she said. "You did it because you needed to." Her insight disarmed him. "This can't continue," he said, meaning the tension, the half-truths, the pull. "No," she agreed. "It can't." They sat in silence, the distance between them deliberate and fragile. When he finally stood to leave, he felt the weight of a choice he had not yet made pressing forward. As Ethan walked back toward the house, he understood that restraint did not erase desire. It sharpened it. And somewhere between duty and truth, the ground beneath him was already shifting. The crossing. The ranch felt smaller as autumn settled in, its fences drawing tighter around the lives within them. Ethan moved through his days with a deliberateness that bordered on caution. He spoke less at the table, listened more than Clara noticed, and avoided the barn after dusk. Avoidance, he told himself, was responsibility wearing a convincing mask. Clara, however, sensed the shift as she sensed weather, by pressure rather than proof. She began arriving home earlier, inserting herself into routines she had long delegated. She asked questions about schedules, about who worked where and when. None of it was overt. All of it was intentional. Mei Lin responded by preparing to leave. She packed quietly, folding her few clothes with care, setting aside the apron she had worn until it felt like a second skin. She told Mrs. Harper first, not as a request, but as a statement. "I will finish the week," Mei Lin said. "Then I go." Mrs. Harper watched her for a long moment. "Leaving doesn't always keep people safe," she said. Mei Lin's mouth curved into a restrained smile. "Staying doesn't either." Word traveled the ranch quickly, though no one said it aloud. Ethan heard it in fragments. An empty stall, a reassigned task. He found her that evening by the equipment shed, sealing a crate. "You're leaving?" he said. She nodded. "It is time. I didn't ask you to go." "You didn't have to." She kept working. "I crossed a line by speaking. You crossed one by defending me." Lines are clearer from a distance. He felt the truth of it settle in his chest. "Is this what you want?" She looked up then, eyes steady. "Want is not the question. This is what keeps things from becoming worse." He took a step closer, then stopped. "I don't want you to think I used you." "I don't," she said. "I don't think you know what you want." The honesty stung because it was deserved. "I know what I won't do," he said. "I won't let you be diminished." "Then let me leave with dignity," she replied. They stood there, the space between them measured and aching. He nodded, accepting the boundary she set because he had failed to set one himself. That night, Clara hosted a dinner that felt less like hospitality and more like inspection. The guests praised the ranch, the food, the polish. Clara accepted it all with a smile that did not reach her eyes. When conversation turned to labor shortages, she laughed lightly. "We're selective," she said. "Not everyone fits." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Everyone here works hard," he said. "They fit because they contribute." Clara's gaze flicked to him, sharp. "That's generous." "It's accurate." The table quieted. The moment passed, but the fracture remained. Later, after the guests left and the house exhaled, Clara confronted him in the kitchen. "You're choosing sides," she said. "I'm choosing fairness." "You're choosing disruption," she replied. "And you're doing it for her." Ethan did not deny it. "I'm doing it because it's right." Clara's laugh was short. Right is a convenient word when desire is involved. The accusation landed. He said nothing, which felt like confirmation. The storm arrived after midnight, sudden and violent. Wind rattled the windows. A branch fell somewhere near the barn. Ethan pulled on a coat and went out, duty providing an excuse he no longer needed. By the time he reached the yard, the rain had soaked him through. Mei Lin was already there, struggling to secure a loose door. "You shouldn't be out," he shouted over the wind. She shook her head. "Neither should you." They worked together, wordless, hands close but careful. When the door finally held, they stood beneath the overhang, rain drumming the metal roof. The proximity was undeniable now, shared breath, shared urgency. "This is a mistake," he said, not moving away. "Yes," she agreed, voice quiet. "It is." He lifted a hand, stopped short of her face. The restraint trembled. "If I touch you." "Don't," she said, not pleading, not cold. "If you do, we both lose what we are trying to protect." The clarity of it cut through the storm. He dropped his hand. The choice hurt, sharp and clean. From the house, a light flared. Clara stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the glow. She saw them, too close, too still. The moment crystallized into something that could not be explained away. Mei Lin stepped back first. "I will be gone by morning," she said. Ethan turned toward the house, the weight of consequence settling fully at last. He understood, then, that even without a touch, something had been broken. And as he walked back through the rain, he knew the reckoning would not wait for daylight. The cost of choosing. Morning came without mercy. The storm had scrubbed the ranch clean, leaving behind broken branches and a clarity Ethan did not welcome. Mei Lin's room stood nearly empty. Her suitcase waited by the door, precise and final. She moved through the house once more, returning borrowed items, leaving no trace that could be mistaken for claim. Ethan found her at the threshold. "I should speak to Clara," he said. She nodded. "You should." He wanted to say more, something that acknowledged the weight of what had passed between them without turning it into promise. Instead, he stepped aside and let her go. Dignity, he was learning, often looked like restraint. Clara did not wait for explanations. She summoned Ethan to the sitting room, the space where decisions were made and displayed. She stood by the window, arms folded, gaze fixed on the pasture. "You were with her last night," she said. It was not a question. "Yes." "Did you touch her?" "No." Clara turned then, studying him as if the distinction mattered less than he hoped. "Do you think that absolves you?" "I think it clarifies what I'm responsible for," he said. Her laugh was thin. "You're responsible for choosing her." "I chose fairness," he replied. "I chose to stop pretending that silence was harmless." Clara's composure cracked, just enough to reveal anger beneath. "You humiliated me," she said. "You undermined me in my own house. I refuse to let cruelty pass as order." She took a breath, steadying herself. "And what would you have done if she stayed?" Ethan did not answer immediately. He considered the truth and found it wanting. "I don't know," he said finally. "That's why she's leaving." Clara's eyes narrowed. "So you expect me to thank her?" "No," he said. "I expect us to face what this marriage has become." Silence stretched. Then Clara spoke, carefully. "This marriage is a structure. It works because we maintain it. It works because we avoid it." Ethan said, "Those aren't the same." She turned away, the argument spent without resolution. "You're risking everything," she said. "I already did," he replied, and meant it. Mei Lin left before noon. Mrs. Harper hugged her briefly, pressing a folded note into her hand. Ethan watched from a distance, the space between them deliberate. When Mei Lin looked back, it was not with longing, but with something steadier. Acceptance. "I wish you well," she said. He nodded. "You too." She left the ranch without ceremony, carrying only what she had earned. The days that followed were spare. Clara moved through the house with practiced efficiency, speaking when necessary, withdrawing when not. Ethan returned to work with a focus that bordered on penance. They existed side by side, the absence between them louder than any argument. One evening, Clara broke the quiet. "I can't give you what you want," she said, eyes fixed on her hands. "I know," Ethan replied. "And you can't pretend you don't want it," she continued. "That's the cruelty of it." He considered her then, not as adversary, but as a woman who had built armor where tenderness should have been. "I don't want betrayal," he said. "I want honesty." She looked up. "Honesty costs." "Yes," he agreed. "It does." They did not decide anything that night. But something shifted, not toward repair perhaps, but toward truth. Months passed. The ranch settled into new rhythms. Ethan learned to listen where he had once avoided. Clara pursued her own interests with renewed distance. The marriage remained, altered and exposed, its future uncertain but no longer disguised. Far from the ranch, Mei Lin found work where no one asked her to be smaller. She married in time, not for necessity, but for choice. When she thought of the ranch, it was without bitterness. The truth she had spoken there had freed her as much as it had cost her. On a clear evening, Ethan stood by the far fence, the land stretching open before him. He understood now that the line he had nearly crossed had taught him more than crossing it ever could. Desire had revealed the fault lines. Restraint had shown him their shape. He did not regret choosing not to touch her. He regretted the life that had made the choice necessary. The ranch lay quiet, holding its secrets, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan knew that whatever came next would be built not on silence, but on the difficult, enduring weight of truth.